Sendiass, North Yorkshire snapshot webinar about confidence in meetings. First things first, the SEN Code of Practice 2015 says it is in the child's best interest for a positive dialogue between parents, teachers and others to be maintained, to work through points of difference and establish what action is to be taken. As the parent of a child or young person with additional needs, you may already have experienced many meetings concerned with their progress and support. Hopefully most of those meetings have been very positive, but it's possible that you have also experienced meetings that have been very difficult. There may have been disagreements in meetings. You might feel that people haven't listened to your views or your child or young person's views. You may have been made to feel that you are asking for too much. You might have felt that people didn't explain things properly, and you may have felt very emotional. It's important to do your homework before any meeting, and preparation is key for planning before a meeting. What is the purpose of the meeting? Is it a special educational needs review meeting or an annual review? Is it a meeting to discuss your child's behaviour or attendance, or to discuss an exclusion or something else? Who will be attending the meeting? For example, is it just you and a SENCO? Has your child or young person been invited to the meeting? Will it involve others, such as specialist teachers or an educational psychologist? Has anyone else been invited? This might be someone from health, social care or the voluntary sector. If your child is between 16 and 25 years old, have they been invited to their meeting? Is the meeting in a setting familiar to you? If the venue is not known to you, spend some time finding out where it is, how you will get there, and some people find it helpful if they can visit before the meeting. Have you been asked to complete any forms before the meeting? This might be an assessment request parent view form, an annual review parent views form, or something else. It's important that you know your rights. Whatever the meeting is for, it's best to find out what the law or guidance expects of educational settings, etc. For example, if the meeting is to discuss whether the setting will request an education, health and care plan assessment, check out our webinar, our leaflet about assessment requests, or the information on our website. If the meeting is to discuss an exclusion, you could check out the information on our website, watch our webinar or read the Exclusions Guidance 2017. The link for this is on the screen. As an example, you might be invited to a school meeting to consider an EHC assessment request. A school might say they are not allowed to submit a request until they have done several things they have been told by the local authority. But the law says that a child or young person should have an assessment if they have or may have special educational needs, which is a low threshold. It's also important that you are aware of your responsibilities. This might include something like attendance, which could be something around your parental duty to ensure your child is educated full time. A parent can be prosecuted for failing to ensure that their child is educated. Or exclusions. An example is the duty of a parent not to allow a child to be out in a public place during school hours for the first 5 days of an exclusion, except where the child is starting alternative provision or they are attending a health or dental appointment, etc. Make some notes. It's important that you make some notes before the meeting, as these will remind you of what you want to say and any questions you might have. You might want to think about how things have been. It's important to acknowledge how things have been, but try to make the meeting forward-looking, learning from how things have been to try and plan for the future. What is working? Try to acknowledge the positives and the progress your child is making on the back of the support available. What isn't working? Jot down any things that you feel aren't working. Your child or young person's views. If possible, jot down your child or young person's views. You might want to think about scribing those and sharing them with the meeting. The support your child or young person needs. You might want to think about the support you feel is needed. That might be in the form of adult assistance, aids, specific interventions, social support, etc. Overall, think about your child's progress, any challenges they have, how things have been going outside of school. You might want to ask questions about who will be supporting them and how that support will be in place. What to expect at the meeting. It's important that everyone introduces themselves. If this doesn't happen, ask the meeting organiser to introduce attendees. There should be a clear agenda for the meeting showing what will be discussed. It's helpful to have this in advance, but as long as it's there on the day, that's usually okay. Usually a meeting will have an anything else or any other business towards the end, and so if you feel that something needs to be addressed, you can ask for it to be discussed then. Everyone at the meeting should be given a chance to have their say and that questions and answers can be heard. You might find that there are new reports on the table at the meeting. This can be really hard as you won't have had time to read these thoroughly and are also trying to concentrate on what's happening in the meeting. It's okay to ask for a few minutes break to read through them, but in more complex situations you could ask for the meeting to be postponed until you have had time to take everything in. At the end of the meeting, it helps if the person organising the meeting summarises any actions, who will be responsible for them and what will happen next. Your self-care for meetings, that could include things like breaks, breathing. If someone says something that you don't understand, asking them to explain. If you feel upset, asking for a short break. Taking someone with you, a family member, a friend, a support worker from another service. You could visit the venue before the meeting. You could think about arriving in good time, etc., so that keeps your nerves at bay. Sometimes a professional may have brought a new worker or student with them, but not asked your permission before the meeting. It is good practice for professionals to contact parents before a meeting to ask their permission. Most of the time you're probably okay if there is someone new, but sometimes the meeting might be addressing some very sensitive issues, and it's okay to ask that the new person doesn't come into the meeting. It's okay to ask people to explain things if you don't understand. This can often happen when people use acronyms such as SEN or CAMS. There are lots of them. Some professionals assume you will know the meaning of these, but that's not always the case. Ask if you don't understand. There will be other people around the table who are also wondering what people are talking about. When we're discussing issues about our children, it can feel very emotional and it's hard to concentrate or share our views when this happens. It's okay to ask the person running the meeting for a short break, take a brief walk outside, etc. Support is really important. If there is someone available to go with you that can be very helpful, always make sure that the meeting organiser knows you are bringing someone. We've all experienced the changes brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. For most of us, that has meant a change to virtual meetings via platforms such as Skype, Teams and Zoom. For many of us, this has been quite positive, allowing us to continue to look at the needs of children, etc., and often being more convenient in parents and others not having to travel to meetings and attending from the comfort of our homes or offices. But let's look at some of the challenges. Body language, facial expressions and gestures can be more difficult to read in virtual meetings, so make allowances for that. It helps if everyone has their video turned on. Raise your hand if you want to speak, as it can be helpful for the meeting organiser to see when someone wants to speak. The connection may be poor, so ask for things to be repeated if the sound quality is making it hard to hear what people are saying. Sometimes the meeting organiser may mute everyone except the person speaking to aid the connection. Occasionally the video feed needs to be turned off to aid this. If this happens, it's important to say who is speaking. For example, it's Angela, can I just say? It can be harder to understand what's being said, and so very important to ask questions and ask people to repeat themselves if that will help you. At the end of the meeting, it's important to ask what will happen next. Will you be sent the meeting notes? Who will be responsible for certain actions, etc. Before you leave the meeting, have you said everything you want to say? Have you asked all the questions you wanted to ask? Have you had answers to all of your questions? Have you understood everything that has been said? Do you know what will happen next? And check that the notes from the meeting will be sent to you. After the meeting, let's look at what should happen after the meeting. If you expect to receive notes, check that this happens. Quite often we speak with parents who have not received notes from meetings they have attended. It's important to get these so that you can refer back to them, especially when further meetings have been arranged. Read the notes carefully. Like any important document, it's important to check that the notes are accurate. If you feel there are inaccuracies, it's important to raise these with the meeting organiser. Are actions from the meeting in place? Meetings need to have a clear purpose and any agreed actions need to be acted on. Contact the meeting organiser if you feel this isn't happening. Parent actions. Like any other professional, it's important that you act on anything you have agreed to in the meeting. This might include things like speaking with your GP about a referral to speech and language therapy, researching local groups for families with children who have additional needs, and supporting with specific interventions. Further meetings, it's important to make sure that these are in your phone or diary so that meetings can go ahead as planned with your important input. What next? We hope that the information in this webinar has been helpful. For further information on a range of SEN issues, check out the Sendiass North Yorkshire website at sendiassnorthyorkshire.co.uk. You could also look at our range of fact sheets, which you will find on our leaflets and fact sheets page on our website. This is just a snapshot about confidence in meetings. We hope eventually to hold face-to-face sessions where we explore this subject in greater detail. If you want further advice, please contact us via our advice line or through the Facebook and Twitter pages through the link on our website. If you would like to learn more and attend our free workshops on SEN issues, please contact the Parent Carer Voice to register. Their contact details are on screen. If you would like further information and support, please get in touch with us. If you have enjoyed this webinar, please let us know via our feedback form on our website. Thank you.